Have you ever noticed that the world seems to treat you exactly the way you treat yourself? Imagine this, a person staring into a mirror only to see their own reflection, not once as a child, but every time you step out into the world. As startling as it sounds, Carl Jung famously wrote that whoever looks into the mirror of the water sees above all his own image. In other words, the hardest person to truly know and respect is often ourselves. Think about it, maybe your friends or colleagues treat you like someone who is easy to take advantage of. Perhaps you find yourself apologizing constantly, downplaying your achievements, or simply letting others walk all over you. Why does this happen? It happens because deep down, you've been the one telling the world how to treat you. Jung taught that what is not brought to consciousness comes to us as fate. So until you bring those unconscious beliefs to light, you are doomed to repeat them as fate. Today's video will show you exactly why respect starts from the inside and how reclaiming it changes everything. We'll walk through the psychological mechanisms, including Carl Jung's insights, real-world examples of disrespect that begin from within, and practical steps to flip the script on your life. By the end of this video, you'll understand why people mirror how you treat yourself, how childhood conditioning keeps you stuck in people-pleasing traps, and how powerful it is to finally start saying no and set firm boundaries. Stay with me because this isn't a gentle pep talk, it's a wake-up call. And if you've ever felt invisible or worthless, hit the like button now and type "ready" in the comments to let us know you want real change. Pause. Have you ever asked yourself, why do I keep trying to prove my worth to others? That question defines the course of our entire emotional lives. Keep watching because today we answer it with brutal honesty and show you a way out. Let's start with a simple truth. People reflect how you treat yourself. This isn't just feel-good self-help nonsense, it's a hard psychological reality. Your self-image and self-respect act like a signal that broadcasts to the world. They tell people, this is how you should treat me. If you constantly put yourself down, apologize for everything, or accept less than you deserve, that's exactly how others will see and treat you. Conversely, if you present yourself with confidence and clear boundaries, people tend to respect you more in turn. Psychologists have studied self-respect extensively. One expert points out that respecting oneself enough to stand up for one's beliefs and boundaries helps command the respect of others. In other words, by standing up for what you value, you signal to others that you value yourself. This correlates with Jung's view, the unconscious mind is a mirror. Jung reminded us that the world around us often reflects the parts of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge. If you send out a message of weakness or self-doubt, other people pick it up and mirror it back to you. Consider a real-world example. Carol always felt she had to say yes to every request from her boss, even when it drained her. Over time, her boss began piling on more work, treating Carol like a doormat. Why? Because Carol's own reluctance to say no told the boss it was safe to treat her poorly. Carol's internal narrative, "I must be helpful to be loved," became an unwritten permission slip for others to take advantage. Sound familiar? Many of us live that way, subconsciously believing we have to earn love by being flawless. But as Jung says, failing to face these patterns means we project all the negative onto the world. In other words, the disrespect we fear from others is often the disrespect we're first showing to ourselves. Have you ever noticed that good people-pleasers tend to become invisible under the surface? They're the quiet helpers, the reliable go-to friends, the classic nice guy who never complains. Initially, others may praise them, but soon that praise vanishes and is replaced by expectations. Because Carol always said yes, now everyone expects her to say yes. This is the trap of external validation. People-pleasers live for others' approval, but that only confirms to the world that they don't believe in themselves. As a result, others end up walking all over them. In fact, therapists note that people-pleasing often grows out of trauma or stress. It's now recognized as one of the main fawn responses to fear. Psychologist Pete Walker describes it like this: fawn types seek safety by merging with the wishes, needs, and demands of others. In childhood, this might have helped you survive. Maybe it kept a parent calm or earned you praise. But as an adult, this strategy backfires. What starts as a way to keep the peace or earn approval eventually becomes expected and conditioned as the right thing to do. Over time, your identity shrinks because you keep covering up who you truly are. As one therapist puts it, doing what's expected is encouraged and conditioned as the right and best thing to do, even if it costs your soul. The danger is real. People who respect themselves do not beg for attention or love. They know their worth and don't have to sacrifice themselves to be liked. Imagine two coworkers. One consistently finds excuses, takes blame, stays late without complaint. The other speaks up when overloaded, thanks others but sets limits. Who do you think gets respected more? The second person, undoubtedly. That second coworker has learned the lesson. Show yourself respect and others will follow suit. It's time to transition to the next big idea. understanding where those limiting beliefs came from in the first place. Now let's delve into the childhood scripts and emotional conditioning that taught you to treat yourself this way. From the moment we're born, our family, culture, and early experiences write internal scripts about who we should be. If as a child you were told good kids don't say no or be nice and people will love you, you may still be following those old directives unconsciously. We rarely get a lesson on boundaries or self-worth in school. Instead, we soak up unspoken rules. These ingrained beliefs can become your shadow in Jungian terms. Jung described the shadow as the hidden, repressed part of your personality, often filled with qualities you've been taught to see as bad. He said it is the hidden, repressed, for the most part inferior and guilt-laden personality. We all have strengths and desires that end up in the shadow when we're told they're unacceptable. For example, maybe you learned that being assertive is selfish. Jung explains how that works. A person might believe that to be assertive is to be selfish, so he goes through life being pushed around by others and seething with resentment. Here, the hidden potential for assertiveness, which is a powerful strength, lives in his shadow. He essentially trained himself to be powerless. Ask yourself, what parts of you have you banished to your shadow to keep the peace? Perhaps passion, creativity, or even anger were labeled wrong by someone you trusted. When we deny these parts, our psyche stays disempowered. Jung taught that integrating the shadow is essential to wholeness. Until you do, you'll repeat the same patterns. Each new disrespect you experience is evidence of an old script in replay. Pause the video for a moment and think, when did I first learn to behave this way? Who in my childhood taught me I had to be good by never making waves? Maybe it was a parent, teacher, or even a friend. Recognizing these sources is uncomfortable but crucial. In a way, you have to become a detective of your own life. Gather the clues of what rules you absorbed too literally. Now let's talk about real-world strategies to start undoing these scripts. This isn't airy theory, these are practical steps you can use today. Try a simple self-reflection prompt. Notice when you feel guilty or anxious about saying no. That's your inner alarm going off. Ask, what am I afraid will happen? Write it down if you can. Often you'll unearth beliefs like, they won't love me if I'm not helpful, or it's selfish to take time for myself. These thoughts are inherited, not facts. Once you see them, you can challenge them. Here are a few quick prompts. Feel free to pause and jot answers. Question 1. When was the last time I agreed to something I really didn't want to do? What fear or thought made me say yes instead of no? Question 2. Who taught me to be like this? Was it a parent who rewarded obedience or a culture that praised self-sacrifice? Question 3. What would I do today if I truly loved myself? Visualize yourself asserting one small boundary or saying no respectfully. How does your body feel? Tight chest, raised heart rate. Those sensations are new territory. Lean into them and breathe through them, because awareness is the first step to change. Replace each old, painful script with a healthier truth. For instance, replace I should always please people with I deserve to respect myself even if others momentarily feel upset. Another strategy is the mirror talk. Literally stand in front of a mirror and state your truth. I am worthy, my voice matters, it's okay to say no. This may feel awkward at first, but it cracks the old conditioning. The mirror image can feel more real. Speaking to yourself out loud begins to cement a new self-respect. Finally, try keeping a boundary wins journal. Every time you successfully assert yourself or protect your time, write down what happened and how it felt. Celebrate these wins no matter how small. Over weeks, you'll see how often you actually survive saying no and you'll build confidence. This helps you rewire your brain to expect positive outcomes. As Jung might say, you are doing the interior path work of facing yourself, and yes, it's scary at first, but the pain of staying the same is far worse. Remember Jung's challenge, the mirror doesn't lie, and meeting yourself is the real test of courage. You can do this. Now that we've shaken up the foundation, let's reclaim power through boundaries and the word no. This is a game changer. Every no you speak is a declaration of your self-respect. It redraws your relationship with others. If up till now saying no felt like closing doors, try viewing it as opening the door to what you truly want. In fact, one guide insightfully notes, a person who is not free to say no is not free to say yes. The ability to say no is powerful because it allows you to welcome the things you really need in your life. What happens psychologically when you say no? At first, you might feel fear or guilt, but these feelings actually fade quickly with repetition. It's like lifting weights. The first rep is hard, the next gets easier. Each time you say no, you prove to yourself that you are okay, that you won't instantly suffer for it. That builds an internal muscle of confidence. You'll notice something magical. Others begin to respect your time and limits. A colleague will think twice before dumping extra work on you. A partner will consider your needs because you've drawn a firm line. Let's talk research for a moment. Psychology and therapy experts agree that saying yes when you mean no comes at a real cost. According to a clinical guide, if you keep agreeing to things you don't want, resentment and anger can build up. You become increasingly frustrated and disappointed with yourself, eventually leading to being overworked and stressed. In the long term, not being able to say no can decrease your self-esteem and lead to depression and anxiety. That's a textbook definition of self-betrayal, no sugarcoating it. On the flip side, modern psychology has demonstrated the benefits of autonomy and assertiveness. Remember the study we mentioned earlier. Across multiple countries, researchers found that people with higher self-respect, seeing themselves as equal to others, were significantly more assertive and had far fewer depressive symptoms. In plain terms, when you value yourself, you naturally stand up for yourself, and that shields you from depression. Yes, science actually says this. When you say no, you're literally shifting your brain chemistry towards self-worth and away from helplessness. Common fears will surface. If I say no, they'll hate me. I'll disappoint people. I'm selfish. We all have these thoughts, but let's reframe them with facts. Those beliefs are unhelpful opinions, not facts. Therapists list some of the top fear thoughts about saying no. Saying no is rude. Saying no is uncaring. They won't like me after. Even if I say no to a small thing, I must just be petty. Look at these bullet points on screen and realize these are just thoughts, not truth. When we challenge them, e.g., reminding ourselves that I'm refusing a request, not the person, saying no becomes liberating, not guilt-laden. The science of well-being is clear. Autonomy and respect go hand in hand. The self-determination theory in psychology tells us that needing to feel in control of our actions, autonomy, is a basic human drive. When we lack autonomy, we feel anxious and unwell. In fact, a psychiatric review explains that if stigma or low self-worth take hold, people can experience a loss of self-respect and loss of self-efficacy, which directly decreases their autonomy and well-being. Translated, when you stop respecting yourself, you literally take away your own power to govern your life. The good news, the reverse is true. Rebuilding your inner respect restores autonomy. Before we move to broader implications, take a moment. Think of one area in life, maybe at work, with family, or with a friend, where you've been too quick to say yes. In that scenario, silently tell yourself, no, this is not okay with me, and visualize yourself holding that stance firmly. Feel the disbelief or relief wash over you. This simple mental rehearsal starts rewiring you to act differently. Now let's zoom out to the big picture. What happens in society when countless people deny their own worth? We end up with a culture of mass self-betrayal. Think about it. Millions showing up to work tired and resentful because they never learned to rest. Or relationships where one partner does everything and the other does nothing, leading to emotional bankruptcy. This silent epidemic fractures communities because beneath the polite surface, people are living inauthentically. Researchers warn of the costs of this. One Psychology Today analysis calls this the conformity trap. As Rollo May famously said, the opposite of courage in our society is not cowardice, it is conformity. When we all conform by sacrificing our true selves, the result is tragic. A loss of individuality, increased conflict, and diminished emotional intimacy in our relationships. That means more loneliness and silent anger, even between close friends or spouses. Imagine a whole generation that's polite, helpful, but empty inside. That's where we're heading if self-respect isn't taught. On an even larger scale, think about leadership and politics. How can society be healthy if people aren't taught to stand up for themselves? Empires and organizations crumble when people stop questioning and start fawning. We've seen it in history. Cultures that demanded absolute deference often collapsed under their own weight. It's no accident that modern movements emphasize empowerment and speaking out. Each person's journey to self-respect contributes to a freer, more innovative world. Now let's switch to a hopeful vision. What if every individual started respecting themselves more? The future could look amazing. Imagine workplaces where employees set fair boundaries, leading to higher morale and creativity. Families where children are taught self-worth, growing into confident adults. Communities built on mutual respect, not manipulation. This isn't a fantasy. It's the logical outcome of millions of people practicing what we're teaching here. Science backs this up too. For example, a recent study highlighted that authenticity, basically living true to yourself, predicts resilience. College students who rated themselves as more authentic reported less stress after a disaster. Another finding, authenticity correlates with life satisfaction and high self-esteem, and is negatively associated with anxiety and depression. In short, the more you can be your real self, the better you'll feel. Imagine a world full of people who grew up learning to be authentic and self-respecting. It would be a world of stronger mental health and genuine connections. If you want to keep growing after this video, check out our channel's playlist on boundaries and self-worth. We have more in-depth guides on say-no strategies, building confidence, and even journaling techniques to continue your journey. Remember, this is a path, not a one-time fix. Let's recap the big lessons. You learned how your own self-image is the quiet director of your life. If you treat yourself like a doormat, guess what? You'll attract doormat treatment. We explored Jung's idea that the unconscious mind shows us what we refuse to face. We saw how childhood messages created hidden scripts, our shadow, that kept us people-pleasing and fearful. We also discussed how reclaiming power begins with saying no and setting boundaries, and how that literally makes your brain and relationships healthier. The core truth tying it all together is this: respect starts within. If you don't demand it from yourself first, you can't expect it from the world. So if you've taken anything from this video, remember, you do not need to earn others' respect, you need to rebuild the respect you lost for yourself. Once you do, everything changes. As therapist Judith Zackson puts it, it's hard, if not impossible, to live a fulfilled, meaningful, and joyous life if you don't respect yourself first. That's a profound reminder that self-respect is the bedrock of a good life. Now I'll leave you with one final challenge. If you woke up tomorrow deciding to never shrink yourself for anyone again, what would that look like? What's the first thing you would do differently today? Share your thoughts in the comments and commit to one act of self-respect. Maybe that's finally telling your boss no to extra hours this weekend, or voicing your opinion in a meeting, or even just looking in the mirror and saying, "I deserve respect." When you choose to stand tall, amazing things happen, not just in your life, but in the lives of everyone around you. So ask yourself, if you don't respect yourself, what kind of life are you inviting? The choice is yours. Reflect on that and then make the decision to change. If this message hit home, hit like, subscribe, and let us know below. How will you start respecting yourself today? Thank you for watching. Now go out there and show the world your worth.